There are 43 artworks that appear in the video game Animal Crossing New Horizons. These are based on real-life artworks, such as the Mona Lisa, the Statue of David, and the Great Wave. And it was around this time last year when I completed a goal to visit them all. It took me 16 months, took me to 3 continents, 10 countries, 17 cities, 29 museums, but I eventually saw all 43 artworks from Animal Crossing in real life. This is something that I documented throughout my short form content on TikTok and Instagram, but I just felt that a long form video on YouTube is what felt right. However, this does mean that a lot of the footage that I took from throughout my travels was shot vertically for short form, so please bear that in mind for this video. But anyway, here's how I saw every artwork from Animal Crossing in real life. First things first, in Animal Crossing you get art from Red. In New Horizons he comes on a boat to the back of your island with 4 pieces of art. The art can be either real or fake, and you can only buy 1 per day. You then donate it to Blathers in the museum, and you slowly build up your art gallery until you have all 43 pieces. But I wanted to go one step further. I've already completed my museum in the game. How could I go and complete the museum in real life as well? It all started in February 2022. This was about 1 month after I started posting daily short form videos on TikTok. I live in London. I was walking down the Strand in London next to Somerset House, and I saw a poster for an art exhibit. It featured a poster for the proper painting from Animal Crossing, also known as a bar from the Folies Bergère. I made a dumb joke tweeting about it, saying that I can't believe they made the painting from Animal Crossing in real life. As I kept walking past this poster and kept posting more and more TikToks, I thought that this would make an interesting series for my TikTok. It was around April 2022 when I started to research where were all these artworks. I knew that some were in London, I knew that some were in Paris, which is not too far at all. And eventually I made this version 1 spreadsheet, which I would later discover was not as accurate as it should have been, and I definitely felt some consequences because of that. I've since made an updated version 2 Google Docs spreadsheet, which I can always update as it goes along. There is a link to it in the description of this video, so if you ever want to complete this journey for yourself as well, you can use that spreadsheet as a starting point. But in April 2022, I posted this TikTok video. It was the first time I had ever spoken on my TikTok channel with my real voice. I'm working on a new TikTok series where I'm setting the goal to visit every single artwork from Animal Crossing New Horizons in real life. I've made a spreadsheet which you can screenshot, and there's 43 pieces of art in 17 cities across 11 countries. Fortunately, I live in London where there's a few, and I've already visited the first one, which is one of my favourite paintings in the game. So make sure you're following me so you can see the first one later this week, and let me know which ones you'd like to see next. And I declared that I wanted to see every artwork from Animal Crossing in real life. I apologise in advance for how bad my pronunciations are going to be in this video, but I hope you can bear with me. So it only made sense that I started this goal in the city where I live in, London. And the first artwork that I saw was the one I tweeted about. The real proper painting. I headed to the Court Tower Gallery in London to see the real proper painting. This gallery is the only one in London that you actually have to pay for, but because I was a student at the time, they do have free student tickets. This is a bar at the Folies Bergère, painted by Edouard Manet in 1882. I've also made a little checklist to keep track of all the artworks. Next, I went to the National Gallery in London, which this year celebrates its 200th anniversary. And also, because of this artwork goal, I have since become one of 200 creators working closely with the gallery to celebrate its 200th anniversary. At this gallery, I saw artwork number 2, the flowery painting. This is sunflowers painted by Vincent van Gogh in circa 1888. There's also another copy of this painting at the Van Gogh Museum in Amsterdam, which I also saw. For artwork number 3, I visited the National Gallery while they had a special exhibit featuring the real basic painting. The basic painting is the Blue Boy, painted by Thomas Gainsborough in 1770. It's actually housed at the Huntington Library in Los Angeles, California, but I was able to see it during a special exhibit at the National Gallery. And finally, for the National Gallery, artwork number 4 was the real glowing painting. This is the Fighting Temeraire, painted by J.M.W. Turner in 1839. Moving on to artwork number 5, still in London, I visited the Tate Britain, where I got to see the real sinking painting. This is Ophelia, painted by John Everett Millais in 1852. As a little bonus to the goal, I also went to the real location where John Everett Millais painted the background for Ophelia. This is located near the Hogs Mill River in London. Moving on to artwork number 6, I headed to the British Museum for the first statues that I saw in real life. Artwork number 6 was the real informative statue. This is the Rosetta Stone from 196 BCE. The British Museum actually has two versions of this. They have a copy which is at a 45-degree angle, which looks more like the game one, and then of course the real one, which is upright in a glass case. And rounding it up for London, artwork number 7, also at the British Museum, was the real robust statue. This is the Discobolus from the 2nd century CE. Now we're moving into May 2022 and my first international country as I officially took this goal overseas. I headed to Paris, France, and to the Louvre Museum, where they had 4 artworks from the game. Artwork number 8 and the first at the Louvre was the real famous painting. This is of course the Mona Lisa, painted by Leonardo da Vinci, or if I wanted TikTok views, Da Vinci, in circa 1503. Artwork number 9 was another statue. This was the real Valiant statue, also known as the Knight of Samothrace, from circa 190 BCE. We also officially hit double digits in Louvre. Artwork number 10, the real worthy painting. This is Liberty Leading the People, painted by Eugene Delacroix in 1830. And for the final artwork at the Louvre, number 11, the real beautiful statue. This is the Venus de Milo from circa 130 BCE. So that is a quarter of the artworks done from seeing all the ones in London and 4 at the Louvre in Paris. There are others in Paris, but for this trip I could only visit the Louvre as the other museums were shut on the day of my visiting. In June 2022 I visited Madrid, Spain. Where at the Museo del Prado I saw artworks number 12 and 13. Visiting the Museo del Prado brought me to one of my first obstacles in this goal, and that is, some museums don't allow filming, and I came with the intention of filming a TikTok series, and obviously that could not be possible, so I had to be sneaky about it. I had a decoy phone and a shirt pocket, and I basically put my phone in my shirt pocket, trying to film, be sneaky, and I got some results, not as clear as I would have liked to, but the best I could get. The 2 artworks I saw there were number 12, the Solemn painting. This is Las Meninas, painted by Diego Velázquez in circa 1656. And artwork number 13 was the Warm painting, also known as the Claude Maya, painted by Francisco de Goya in circa 1805. At the end of June 2022, I headed to Berlin, Germany for 2 more artworks. I made my way to Museum Island, which is a group of 5 museums in close proximity to each other. The first one I went to was the Alta National Gallery, where I saw artwork number 14, the Mysterious Painting. This is the Isle of the Dead, painted by Arnold Böcklin in 1883. Next up was in the adjacent News Museum, where I saw artwork number 15, the Mystic Statue. If I thought Madrid was hard, this was way harder. The real Mystic statue was in its own room with like 5 security, strictly no filming or photography for this artwork, but you could film anywhere else in the museum. So again, I did the same phone in a pocket trick, went to the other side of the museum, literally filmed me walking for like 3 minutes, and then hid my phone and amiibo card in front of a map. And eventually I did get to see and film the real Mystic statue. This is the bust of Nefertiti, crafted by Thutmose in circa 1345. And that brings me 1/3 of the way done. It was at this point where I took a little break throughout the summer. It was a lot more expensive to travel around then as well. There were a lot of places that were very overseas, so I then remembered the ethos of Animal Crossing, real and fake artworks. If it's good enough for Red, it's good enough for me. So I looked to see where there are copies of real artworks in other locations in the world that might be easier to travel to than seeing the real ones. It was around this time in August 2022 where I set myself the rule where I will allow fake or copy artworks as long as they are housed in a museum somewhere. Which is why in August 2022 I saw artwork number 16 in the UK. I travelled to Dorchester to the Terracotta Warrior Museum, where they had real replicas of the Terracotta Army. This is where I saw the warrior statue, as at this museum they had real replicas of the Terracotta Army, as well as the actual bowls and other artifacts directly taken from where they are actually located in China. The real Terracotta Army are located at the mausoleum of the first Qin Emperor in the Lintong district of China. In terms of the checklist, for the Terracotta Army, I am going to mark this with a yellow, just as it's like a sort of, I've seen it, but not as much as I could. It does mean that one day in the future I will see it. I would like to get this all green, but sometimes it just isn't that possible. And given the rule that I just made, I do accept yellows on the board, as a goal completion. In September 2022, I headed to Vienna, Austria for another 2 artworks. I made my way to the Kunsthistories Museum in Vienna, where I saw artworks number 17 and 18. Number 17 was the Jolly painting, also known as Summer, painted by Giuseppe Arcimboldo in circa 1563. This is a part of a collection called the Four Seasons, and I did actually see the other ones while at the Louvre earlier in the year. Painting number 18 was the Scenic painting, and this was The Hunters in the Snow, painted by Peter Bruegel the Elder in 1565. At the end of September, I headed back to Paris, France, my second time visiting there for this goal, where I first headed to the Musée d'Orsay for some more artworks from the game. Artwork number 19 was the Common painting, also known as the Gleaners, by Jean-Francois Millet in 1857. Painting number 20 was the Nice painting. This is the Pfeiffer by Edouard Manet in 1866. Now this is where the spreadsheet also again messed me up, as there was another painting at this museum which I did not realize was on exhibit in a museum in Dubai, so unfortunately I missed it on this trip, meaning I'd have to come back again. While also in Paris, I went to the Rodin Museum for artwork number 21. This was the Familiar statue, also known as the Thinker, sculpted by Auguste Rodin in 1902. This was very cool to see, and so many other works by Rodin here as well. Also on this Paris trip was another L. I went to the Musée de Quai Branly, as I heard and researched that there was a rockhead statue here. I get there and it's nowhere to be seen, so I frantically Google anywhere else in Europe that it could be. The real one is in Mexico, so I should have seen it now, but it didn't really work out, so it'll have to be somewhere later in this goal. Artwork number 2 officially brings us over the halfway line, and for this, I went to Krakow in Poland, where I visited the Princes Czartoryski Museum to see the Serene painting. I visited here on a Tuesday where it's actually free to enter the museum. A lot of the museums in Europe have been paying entry, so anywhere where I could get a free entry was definitely a bonus. And it also really made me appreciate, again, the free museums in London. So artwork number 22, the Serene painting. This is the Lady with an Ermine, painted by Leonardo da Vinci in circa 1490. After researching the rockhead statue some more, in November 2022, it led me to artwork number 23, back to Madrid, Spain, for a copy of the rockhead statue. Kinda a copy. The game is based on Olmec Head 1, and in Madrid they had a copy of Olmec Head 8. They are both based on copies from the real museum in Veracruz, Mexico. This was located at the Cabeza Olmec roundabout in Madrid, Spain. And for now, it's probably the best I could do after that Paris L. But yes, this is the Olmec colossal head from circa 1000 BCE. Now from Madrid, I made my way to Florence, Italy, where I made my way to the Galleria dell'Accademia, where I saw the Galen statue, which is of course the statue of David, sculpted by Michelangelo in circa 1504. This was incredible to see, honestly took my breath away. Seeing the statues in real life is so different to how it looks in the game or an image online. There is also a copy of the statue of David at the V&A Museum in London, and it's also cool in London because you can view it from a higher point at the balcony level, which was cool to see. But of course the original is in Florence. While in Florence, I headed to the Uffizi Gallery to see artwork number 25. This is the moving painting, also known as the Birth of Venus, painted by Sandro Botticelli in circa 1485. From Florence, I took the train to Rome. Rome was a very magical city, probably my favorite that I visited in Europe from throughout this whole goal. Everything may look like Assassin's Creed 2, but it's also Animal Crossing Artwork City. For artwork number 26, I headed to the Capitoline Museums, where I saw the real motherly statue. This is the Capitoline wolf from the 5th century BCE. While in Rome, I also remembered my rule from earlier that I can see any fake artwork as long as it's in a real museum. So that brings me to artwork number 27, the Academic painting. The real academic painting is the Vitruvian Man by Leonardo da Vinci in circa 1487. This is located at the Galleria dell'Accademia in Venice, Italy, but due to its age, it's only brought out every 7 years, and in 2019 it was shown at the Louvre, meaning it won't be out for another few more years. Now, because of my rule, I did make my way to the Museo Leonardo da Vinci in Rome, where they had a fake version of this painting. Whenever the real one is brought back to the world, I will make sure I go and visit it, but for now, this gets a yellow stamp in the checklist. We now enter 2023. In January 2023, I went to the Netherlands. I first went to The Hague for artwork number 28, where I saw the real Wistful painting at the Mauritshuis Museum. This is of course the girl with a pearl earring, painted by Johan Vermeer in circa 1665. From The Hague I made my way to Amsterdam and to the Rijksmuseum for artworks number 29 and 30. Number 29 was the Quaint painting, also known as the Milkmaid and also by Johan Vermeer, painted in 1658. And bringing us to the big number 30 was the amazing painting. This is the Night Watch by Rembrandt van Rijn, painted in 1642. When I was visiting, they were working on the frame for this painting, so it was in this big glass case. They also had a smaller version of this painting, as well as info guides telling us which were the real and fake versions. But this officially brings us to over 2/3 of the way done, with the only artworks left being in America and Japan. It was around this time when this goal went sort of viral. I got news articles and things like that, and my TikTok was continuing to grow as well. I also saved all my money from my TikTok creator fund and funded my first ever trip to America. In January 2023, I went to America for the first ever time because of this goal. It was a 1-week trip across 4 different states to see every artwork I needed to. So I flew to New York, took a train to Boston, and headed to the Museum of Fine Arts for artwork number 31. This was the Moody painting, also known as the Sower by Jean-Francois Millet, painted in 1850. From Boston, I took an overnight train to Washington, D.C. Thanks to my now friend Clover, I got to see artwork number 32 at the United States Capitol. This was the Great Statue, located at the National Statuary Hall collection in the Capitol Museums. This is of course the statue of King Kamehameha I, sculpted by Thomas Ridgway Gould in circa 1883. This is a copy of the statue. The real one is located in Honolulu, Hawaii, which I've literally seen 2 days before uploading this video. While in Washington, I also headed to the Library of Congress for artwork number 33, and my personal favorite, the dynamic painting. This is the Great Wave of Kanagawa, a part of the 36 views of Mount Fuji, by Katsushika Hokusai, painted in circa 1831. This is a wood block print, meaning that there are around 100 copies existing from the original print. They don't come out often again like the academic painting due to its age, but there are copies in the British Museum, the Met, Museum of Fine Arts in Boston, the Tokyo National Museum, and I got to see 2 of them in the archives of the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C. It was very cool to get up close to this, and since then I have seen another copy at the Seattle Art Museum, which is actually the one from the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston. And most recently, there is a copy in London right now at the Young V&A Museum in Bethnal Green. There is an exhibit on Japan that ends in September, I think, and if you're watching this video and you're in London, there is a chance to see the Great Wave right now and you need to go and see it. From Washington, I took a train back to New York City, where I went to the Museum of Modern Art for artwork number 34. I saw the Twinkling painting, which is of course the Starry Night, painted by Vincent van Gogh in 1889. While in New York, I took a plane to Chicago, where I went to the Art Institute of Chicago to see artwork number 35. Shout out to the Art Institute of Chicago, who offered me complimentary tickets and a private tour of the museum to support me with this goal. Over here I saw the Real Calm painting, which was a Sunday afternoon on the island of Le Grand Jetée, painted by Georges Seurat in circa 1885. There is also a study of this painting at the Met in New York. The Met also supported me with this goal and gave me free tickets for entry as well. For artwork number 36, I headed back to New York, where in the Ronin Gallery I got to see the Scary painting, or at least a copy of the Scary painting. Ronin Gallery specializes in the sales of art, and they didn't allow me filming this, but I did see a copy of Otani Oniji III as Yako Edobe, painted by Toshusai Sharaku in 1794. While in New York, I also went to the American Museum of Natural History, where I got to see another version of the Olmec statue, but a real one this time, meaning it can be green. And I didn't really see any artworks for another 6 months now. A lot of the main ones were in Japan, and it brings us to July 2023, where I eventually went back to Paris. I was there for TwitchCon. The missing painting at the Musée d'Orsay was finally back from Dubai, meaning I got to see artwork number 37, which was the perfect painting. This is of course Apples and Oranges, painted by Paul Cézanne in circa 1899, and of course I had to bring an apple and an orange of my own. Next was artwork number 38, and this is something that I've sort of seen already. Artwork number 38 is the tremendous statue, known as the Homuwu Ding from 1200 BCE. The real one is big and located at the National Museum of China in Beijing. But throughout my travels, I've seen replica dings in museums across the world, including the Met, the Art Institute of Chicago, and the British Museum. As these follow the same shape and structure and purpose of the real tremendous statue, despite being smaller, I have allowed this to accommodate with a yellow mark in the checklist. A trip to Beijing is still pending to see the real one, of course, but for now this will have to do. This leaves us with just 5 artworks left, 39 to 43, and all of these are located in Japan. And it just so happens that I received the biggest support for this goal thanks to the Pokemon Company International. From posting this content, not just on this artwork goal, but from any of my short form content videos, the Pokemon Company have really supported my channel and made me an official Pokemon partner. In August 2023, the Pokemon Company International hosted me in Japan for the 2023 Pokemon World Championships. And it is in this trip where I was able to complete this goal. I don't think it would be possible if it wasn't for the Pokemon Company, and I genuinely had the best week ever at the World Championships. For artwork number 39, I headed to the Tokyo National Museum, where not only did I get to see another version of the scary painting and actually be able to film it, as well as actually make my own version of the scary painting, I got to see the graceful painting for artwork number 39. This is Beauty Looking Back, by Hishikawa Morinobu in the 17th century. While here, I also got to see artwork number 40, which is the ancient statue. This is a Jomon period Dogu figurine, a Shakoku Dogu from the 1000 to 400 BCE. This version was missing a leg, but it's the closest I could do, and it is a real, authentic piece. It's just a version without one leg. Artwork 41 might be my biggest owl yet though. For this, I was still in Tokyo, at the Sanamaru Shozukan, also known as the Museum of Imperial Collections. This museum was being renovated for the time of my visit, and I believe it only really opens in 2025. Over here, for artwork number 41, I was intending on seeing the detailed painting, which is also known as Rooster and Hen with Hydrangea by Ito Jakuchu in the 18th century. Although this painting is housed here, it's actually owned by the Joe Price Collection, meaning that it's sometimes in LA at the LACMA. But during this renovation, it went back to its private collection and was nowhere to be seen in the world. I believe that art should be accessible. I wanted to see all these artworks. At least for stuff like the academic painting, I knew that they could come out in the future, but this is just privately owned and there's no sort of guarantee of when this might be out. So while I stood outside the renovation site of the Museum of the Imperial Collections in Tokyo, I decided to pay my friend Red a visit, get a fake version of my own, and bring it out with me. Hold it up outside the museum, which is probably opening next year. This is unfortunately the best I could do. It's the biggest owl of the whole goal. I hope that I could see this painting for real. If anyone from the Joe Price collection is watching this, please be in contact because I would love to see this artwork. But that leaves us with just 2 more artworks, the final 2, and they're a pair. That is, of course, the wild painting. Both the left half and the right half, they are counted as separate artworks in the game, so we're counting them as separate artworks in this goal. This is also at the Tokyo National Museum, but there are plenty of copies throughout Japan. I found that the most accessible one to visit was in Kyoto, so I took the Shinkansen to Kyoto, where I made my way to the Kenninji Temple, which was a beautiful temple to end this goal on August 17, 2023, as I saw the wild painting left half and right half. This is the folding screen of Fujin and Raijin by Tawarayo Satatsu in the 17th century. I felt very emotional standing at this temple. This was the culmination of 16 months of travel across 3 continents, 10 countries, 17 cities, 29 museums. We do complete this goal with 4 yellow stamps. That is the warrior statue, the tremendous statue, the academic painting, and the detailed painting. I will of course be seeing these whenever they become publicly accessible to visit again. I tweeted a picture from this museum which went very viral and a lot of interest in the series and the goal. I'm very grateful for everyone's support on this goal. And while I do know that this has taken a year to post on YouTube, to document it all into one big video, it just feels a bit weird putting it out in the world. It's something that was very personal to me, and to have it completed and out into one video, I just wanted it to be perfect. I wish I filmed more stuff horizontal, and knowing that a lot of the footage used was just from vertical. That was probably my biggest regret of this whole trip. And as a reminder, there is a spreadsheet in the description of this video which will be updated when pieces are on view or out of view or on exhibition somewhere else. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you have any questions from this goal, please leave them in the comments, and maybe I'll make a follow-up Q&A video from this series. In terms of what's next, there are actually 7 artworks that appeared in older Animal Crossing games that did not make it to New Horizons. I have seen some of these while on my travels. Some of these you can't really see because it's like a poster. One of them was the classic painting from City Folk, which was Washington crossing the Delaware, which I saw at the Met. This was painted by Emmanuel Louetz in 1851. Another one that I saw was the Fine painting from New Leaf. This is Joyousness by Paul Gauguin, painted in 1892, and this was also at the Musée d'Orsay. There's some other stuff from like Caravaggio and Gustav Klimt that I still need to see, so maybe I'll make a follow-up vid seeing all the forgotten artworks. And you know, if they ever make another Animal Crossing game, there will probably be new artworks. Like, I feel like the Scream should be in Animal Crossing. I also wish that there would be less Western artworks. It has been such a pleasure to see the artworks in Japan, but there is so much art around the world, and yeah, let's see some more from outside of Western areas and art spheres. And also, as another teaser, I know people saying you should go see every fish, every bug, every fossil, but why limit myself to the museum? Those stuff aren't very unique. Like, I could go see a red snapper, but it's not the red snapper from Animal Crossing. I want to see a unique thing that is one in real life, one in Animal Crossing, and I think that the best thing for that is the Gulliver souvenir items, from the Statue of Liberty to the Tower of Pisa. I think that this will make a good goal of next things to see from Animal Crossing in real life. Again, link to the spreadsheet in the description of this video. Please check out my other socials, my short form content I post daily on TikTok and Instagram. Thank you so much for watching, and please consider subscribing. I hope you enjoyed this video.